started, what we're going to do tonight is we want to work on some scenarios, okay? So we're going to go by what we have here. Our whole goal tonight, I think, is to take our time and bring y'all up, okay, to where we all want to be.
Okay.
So my job tonight is I sail on a lot of different boats with a lot of different people, a lot of different programs, and I want to bring to y'all the best of those programs. Okay? Cool. That's what I want to do. So he's in charge.
Well, I'm just pushing the button to go through the slides. So what we have, well, I should say this again when we start. With Dave, someone basically who's been sailing and racing all his life, but as a sailmaker, he gets the opportunity to sail on all kinds of other people's boats and see what they do well and see what they don't do quite as well. And so that gives him this wealth of stuff. A lot of us just sail on our own boats or maybe a few other people's boats, but you've probably sailed on 100 different boats or more. So you can't,
maybe 100. No, I've sailed thousands, more than thousands of different boats, which I've always enjoyed. Don't get me wrong. So, and all I want to do now is I want to go win. Don't get me wrong. Y'all saw me last weekend. We won both starts. I mean, I'm a savage. I want to win. But I want to bring my knowledge back to whoever wants to listen. And that's all I want to do. No ego, no nothing. Because y'all know I coach the kids year round.
Yes.
Pretty much. Well, 9 months out of the year. Okay? So it's my passion. It's what I like. And that's why I'm here.
All right. Are we ready to start, Albert?
Yeah, we've got 6 people watching online.
All right, so then let's go ahead and get started. So I want to welcome everybody to our seminar tonight on racing starts. I want to thank Brian Keating and Pontchartrain Yacht Club for making this space available for us and working to do this. This is something we've been doing this is our 3rd year doing it. We've got a lot of people who are interested in it, and we'll keep it up as long as we can. Tonight's a special thing for those of you that are watching online and didn't hear this. We have Dave Bolliard here with us tonight, who is a sailmaker and a racer and has sailed on 1,000 different boats.
Probably.
So from the point of starting, Dave has seen people who have done it really well and people who have really screwed it up. So he's going to share the knowledge that he has to try and bring up the whole level of anybody who's interested. So an important thing about what we're doing tonight is we want there to be interaction between us and you. We don't want anyone to say, I wish we had covered such and such a point. We're setting a 90-minute time limit for what we're doing tonight, but if we don't get all the way through, we'll have a part 2 of this seminar to cover anything that we missed. So please ask questions. For those of you that are watching on Zoom, Albert Baquet is monitoring the chat, and if you have questions, send them to him, and he will interrupt us and give those questions, because we want to get all the questions answered. Because this is a seminar that's for you to get the most out of it, not for us just to be talking.
If we get through all this, I will be disappointed. So I'm putting it on y'all, okay? I'm open across the board here. Any kind of question. We're going to go through stuff, and that's going to get y'all going. But as we go, any kind of scenario, y'all can come up. We have the board. We can talk about it. We can do it. no problem. I will talk about any starting scenario y'all want.
All right, thanks. So just to go over, basically there's 3 parts of what we're doing tonight. One is the things that you should be doing before you leave the dock. What should be going through your mind, what you should do. Then the preparation from the time that you get to the boat and get out to the starting line before you have your warning signal. And then the third part's going to be what you do at the start itself. Because if you just go out there and show up and start, you're probably not going to get the best start of the day. If you don't do these steps to prepare and get yourself in the right mental attitude to go out and get the best start that you can do, it's probably going to be a flop. So that's why we're going to talk a whole bunch about the preparation side of it. And the first thing that we want to do is talk about the notice of race and the SIs. And one of the first things that, and I got comments from everybody after we sent out a draft outline, was to make sure that you've registered for the race that you're going to be in. Because a lot of races require you set a time limit on when you can register. It's not like the races we do here on the weekend where you can show up and start. If it's an important race, you have to have all your stuff in so the race committee can figure out what division or class to put you in. You have to pay the money if there's a registration count. Another thing that we're going to talk about is the normal starting sequence and the flags. Rolling start.
So let's stop there for, I won't do this all night, okay? This is why we work so well together.
Yes.
So, NOR and SIs, right? I've said this before, and every single time, I want to go to a regatta in St. Pete, right? And they will put out a set, I'm not going to go long on this at all, because we need to move forward. They should send out an NOR, notice of race. Am I racing lasers, J22s, big boats, whatever? The dates and some, just the basics. Should I go to this regatta? I'm not going to go into detail, okay? Can I go to this regatta? Is this regatta worth it going to me? Okay? And because I want to expand y'all from just here. I want y'all to go out of town. So, and then once you I've decided to go to regatta. I'm going to race the J22 midwinters in St. Peter or wherever it is, all right? And then if you're going to go, then you're going to get to SIs. And then you're going to get more specific rules about. There'll be a lot of them, okay, on every different class. Or your PHRF. Or can your spinnaker pole be bigger than your J? There's a million different things, okay? But those are the 2 basic things. I don't want to dwell on this at all, because we've done it. But these are the 2 things you have to start with, okay? And then, other than that, let's rock and roll.
All right, we're also going to talk about the normal starting sequence and flags, rolling starts. This is something we've talked about before, but some people are uncertain about this, so we want to go through and make sure everyone understands how all that stuff works. Rule 30 situations, when there's special rules about whether you can cross the starting line onto the race start of the course, and if you get over early, what you have to do to come back, postponement, and other flags. So here are the flags that you will normally see on when you go out to the starting line. There's a race committee flag that has no official purpose except to identify the race committee boat. You have the answer pennant, which will tell you, it's the second one if you see it on there. It's the vertical red and yellow stripes. On a pennant, it tells you whether the race has been postponed. The Lima flag, which is a square flag with black and yellow corners in it, tells you that a notice ashore has been posted, or if you're afloat, it says come within hail or follow the committee boat. So when the committee boat goes out, it's going to have the Lima flag up to have everybody follow it out to the starting area. And it'll probably have the Lima flag up, the L flag, until it's ready to start the race.
Okay, I'm the wanderer. Okay, so here we go. Like we did over here, we were doing our starts the last 2 weekends, right? Race committee flag, race committee leaves, boom. This can be on shore or on the boat. The Lima, you see the black and yellow, you go. And then when they anchor a lot of races, and you should do this all the time, you should check in. It's safety, all right? Out, we checked in, correct? Once we saw that black and yellow go up, you check in. And now we're on station, okay? Then we can go from there. I just want to go through as we're going through.
No, that's perfect. This orange flag that you'll see on the race committee boat is an important flag. It is the end of the starting line. So when you're trying to figure out how many feet it is till the starting line and whether you're over early or a little bit late, you look at the orange flag. Not the stern of the boat, nothing else. The orange flag is what counts.
Now the orange flag could be in the...
Is there ever a situation where they don't have the orange flag and then defaults to the bow or the stern of the boat?
Then you would have a postponement. If there's no orange flag, there's no starting line. Or they would have to come across on the radio or at the yacht club, and there's a whole set of rules for that they would have to say, we don't have an orange flag, our flag is going to be purple today, or whatever, okay? So, but no, that is it, all right?
Tiffany.
The check-in, I've never asked this before, I just assumed it was essential, like it wasn't a choice.
It's not, it doesn't have to be in the rules. Every one design regatta I've been in the last 20 years, especially every regatta, one design, you have to check in. I mean, I don't care if there's 65 J22s or whatever, it's like a parade. Everybody comes in, it's very orderly, we're going to talk about that later, very orderly, and you check in, okay? That way the race committee knows who's there. You may register, you may be on site, but until you're on the water, the race committee doesn't know you exist. Because if you don't come in, they have to fine you.
It's mandatory in the sailing instructions for LPRC, the Race to the Coast, and the Pensacola race. You have to do it for those races, or you aren't going to get scored.
Right, correct.
And you just stated the correct answer.
Yes, what is the sailing?
Read the instructions, sailing instructions for the race. Clearly states whether or not you have to check in.
Correct.
And it's usually just the first race if it's a series
Of that day.
of that
Of
day.
that day.
But again, the sailing instructions would tell you that.
Exactly.
So I was told on one of the races I was flying a Corinthians flag as a participant, and I was told that I shouldn't have any flags on the boat because it could confuse people on the course as to where they're going. Is that true?
I've never heard that myself personally.
A long time ago, when I was doing a lot of racing in the 70s and 80s, you weren't allowed to fly any flags. You couldn't fly the US flag on your boat. You couldn't fly anything except that. The rules have changed completely since then, and I don't know what the rule is, but if you want your boat to be scored and not cause confusion, don't fly flags that could cause confusion.
Correct. I would agree with that. Fly an American flag or whatever you feel appropriate at that time. You know, we're not going to go into the international stuff. We're talking about here locally. I would not fly too many things on our local from here. Let's talk about local. Local, I like to say, is from Lake Pontchartrain to Panama City. Okay. The basis of the GYA. This is what I think that we'd like to stay with, okay? There's all kind of different things around more, but...
Yes.
When checking in, if it's a large race, to make it easier for the race committee, are they looking for the boat name, skipper name, or sail number? When you check in, is there a protocol, what you're supposed to say exactly? What makes it easier for them? I'm sure they have a long list to try and find it.
They want boat name and sail number.
That's all they want.
That's it.
We don't have to do boat name.
Just,
Huh?
If you're checking in, all you need is a cell number.
Sail number.
So do your cell number. And there should be someone, if you're required to check in, they want your cell number. The kids will tell you, back in the back, when you go out on the race course, your personality, your being disappears. They only know you by what? Your cell number. That's what you are.
We had a race years ago and two boats had the same sail number. What do you do then?
Then, if that's the case, then there should be, if you're different classes, they would have an issue if you had two boats in the same class with the same sail number. At registration, they would handle that.
They did.
In other words, someone would put a piece of duct tape and add a 1. We've done that 100 times here at Pontchartrain Yacht Club.
That's what we ended up doing for the second race, but the first race it was a big problem because they called one over and they didn't tell us which one. So we're both on the radio, which one of us? There's 254s out here, which one is over? And nobody answered, so.
I remember what you're talking about.
Pass the boat
I was
name
on
might
one of
be a
those
good idea.
54s and we're on scratch radio, well, was it us or them?
And again, the SIs are going to tell you if they want the boat name generally.
Correct.
I remember LPRC, we talked about that, and they did want the boat name for that, but sail number is the most important part.
I've also seen the check-in, I don't remember what regattas or races was, for wanting everybody on deck with a life jacket on.
Yeah.
And race to the coast.
Yes.
that'll be in the SI.
That
would have been the thing to scream manufacturer.
And LPRC, because I just looked at this in October, wants you to come by on starboard tack. And that's, I guess, to get a uniform flow past the race committee so you don't have collisions with people checking in.
Cruising boats where the manufacturer doesn't put the sail number on the main, they just have their, logo.
I have a cruising boat that didn't have a sail number, and I took some spinnaker tape and put a sail number on it. I made a sail number on it.
Call me.
Yeah.
If you're going to go
We're not putting
race,
some numbers.
like Al, and I'll use Al some because I've been racing with Al. He has an I. He calls it. I said that's not an I. If that's the only thing on your sail, you're number 1. He said no, it's an I. No, that's number 1. My sail number is 25. It's on my Genoa. Doesn't matter. You have 25 on your Genoa, but you only have an I/1 on your main. So his new main will have an I with that thing and a 25. So that's what we're trying to do tonight is get rid of these confusions. Okay?
And you guys know where the number of your boat comes from, the sail numbers, right? It's in your HUN, the hull identification number, okay? And it's usually the second, well, it's gonna be letters usually, like for Hunter, HUN, and then
Length of the
a
boat.
number, no, not even the length of the boat, it'll be the sail number, and then at the back end, it's if it's, it may be maybe the manufacturer makes steel boats, it'd be an S, or G for GRP, or whatever, and then it'll say the year that the boat was built, okay? So your sail numbers should, for your hull number, for the sail number is basically the same thing, Dave, I would think you would say.
Correct.
Right.
And yes, you will have a lot of boats with the same sail numbers. Because, you may have 2 boats that are 363rd boat built by who knows what, correct?
Yeah,
and that happens all the time. The race committee, when you register, should acknowledge that and you work it out. Okay?
You defined define SI, so people that may not know what SI
Okay.
means.
The NOR, again, is, we're going to go to St. Pete, notice of race. It goes out, should go out the bigger the regatta, the further out it goes. World Championships are out 6 months. LPRC is like 2 or 3 months.
Yep.
For our back to school, schools out is at least 30 days. We want 45 days. And then theoretically, you should do the NOR when you get to the race site, and there'd be 1,000 people in the G-Way. I harp on this all the time. I want my SIs early. I want to read my SIs. I will read every NOR, every race I go in my life. I've done it. I will read the SIs, and I will be that one guy. And all the Liptons and Junior Liptons, they know, the kids know, because I read them. And I read them well. Because once you hit the race course, there's no changing them. So, and the verbiage is very, very important. I have a rules book right here. The words shall and may are massive, okay? And you should read your, and I'm not going to go into a bunch of stuff, but if you're going to race, you should, every race you go in, you should read your NOR, you should read your SIs. If you have a question, ask a question. That's all I mean, because that's how important I think they are. All the kids that I coach, and y'all know I've been coaching kids all my life, but especially in the last 5 or 6 years, let me assure you of one single thing. All my kids are lined up. They all have read the NORs. They all have read the SIs. If they have a question, we go over it.
Albert.
So Danielle's online with us, and she made an interesting statement. Pensacola states, if anything is thrown off the boat, even a piece of fruit, you will be disqualified. Read SIs. So it's one of the rules that you read.
No peeing off.
Well, there's, I don't want to stay on this, but you know what? I told you I would stay on. There are SIs that you're not allowed to bring. They will give you, and the kids know some of this, on the kid regatta, they hand you a water bottle. And you are to go to a specific boat.
And so, an important thing, someone raised a comment about this from the draft outline I sent out, is remember that the race committee can make amendments to the SIs. And in the SIs, it will tell you where they're going to post the information about those changes, if they change them. So, when we talk about responsibilities of people on the boat, probably some person on your crew should be responsible for checking every morning in a series regatta to see whether there have been changes to the SI.
Well, like it, real quick, Pontchartrain Yacht Club, it's our wall inside, and that we're posted. At Southern Yacht Club, it's downstairs, and it needs to be posted where the SIs will be. And if there's change, this is a great question. If there's a change to the SIs, it needs to be when it can be changed at the latest time, and if it is changed, what flag will go up? That flag right there. So if you go to a yacht club at 9 o'clock in the morning and you're getting there ready to do your stuff, and you see this flag on the flag staff or whatever, look in your SIs, or you notice a regatta, and look and see where you got to go. There's been a change. Okay? That's a great thing. There you go.
All right, so the last flag on here that we talked about was the orange flag, which shows the end of the starting line. The next flag down, the papa flag, is the preparatory flag, and that's the flag that you're going to be looking for your timing for the start. It's one of the 2 flags that you're going to be looking for. What I didn't put up there was the class flag. So we're going to talk about the starting sequence in a second, but from the SIs, it'll tell you what your class flag is going to be. And so that'll tell you when there's rolling starts, multiple sequential starts, that's how you will know when it's your turn to start. The X-ray flag, the one underneath the blue and white papa flag, is the individual recall. So if you were over early or did something wrong, the X-ray flag should go up, and the race committee may make an announcement on the radio. If they don't make an announcement to the radio, and there's an X-ray flag up, the onus is on you to figure out whether you are the boat who has caused an infraction.
You'll need to remember that very strictly. Jerry was running some races, and we weren't over by 1 second on our practice starts. I really wanted to be over so I could come back and show it what was happening, but so
That's not what you
the
said.
X-ray horns mean nothing. Period. Flags mean everything. That's just the way it is.
Horns are a courtesy.
They are
Yes.
courtesy. And before you get, the class flag, normally, these days, about a minute before, you get a doot, 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 doot. But you can't start your time then. That's a courtesy. It's about a minute or so. Okay? That's just letting you know that we're here and we're getting ready to go.
So in LPRC last year, we had a contractor come on the UHF and ask us, the committee, to get off of a channel and go to another channel. What's the rule on that? Because that kind of caught us, because we actually were caught between two of the channels.
I was there for
The
that.
committee will actually go on and announce a move to a different channel.
With this is something, the SIs govern this. And if there's nothing in the SIs about changing channel, if I was on the race committee, I would not change channels. Because
They didn't.
They didn't even respond to this contractor. It was some contractor
Oh, I
working
understand.
for
So
the-
they're doing barge work over there or
or
whatever.
something like that.
Yeah.
They were nowhere near the race course. They just wanted to be able to talk continuously without interruption. So if you hear something like that and the race committee doesn't come back and say, all racers, we're going to shift to some other channel or something like that, then just ignore whoever's trying to do it. Because if you think about it, there may be some boats out there that don't have a radio and stuff like that. The race committee wants to start everybody at the same time. And since the flags are the things that count, unless they go through a whole procedure of maybe there's too many things to go wrong. They want to get the start off. I would have done the same thing and just ignored those people, because the starting sequence is only going to take like 15 or 20 minutes for all the boats, and then they're not going to be on the radio anymore. So
And they're allowed to be on that channel.
they're
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
you got all your rights.
That's right. That's right. So that's what the X-ray flag is, and the first substitute, the triangular blue and yellow one, is the general recall, and that's if something goes wrong at the start and everyone needs to come back. It may be there's so many boats over early that they can't tell which ones are which, and Dave, you may have some stuff you want to
Let
add.
me ask a question about that. So if you have class flags, and they launch two classes, third class comes up, and then that flag comes up, that's just that third class? to turn
Read your
on?
SIs.
Okay.
Got you on that one. It should be in your SIs.
Okay.
But saying that, race committees are not perfect. So that's when you got to be kind of eagle eye on your class flag. Okay, you know what your class flag is. You may be, it doesn't matter. Okay, A, B, or C in whatever division. So that's when if that happens, people are not perfect, look at your class flag. But it should be in your SIs that they're either going to put them to the back of it, or they're going to just keep the rolling start. But, that's why I read the SIs.
So if I could, before you move off that slide, The one flag that I believe I have to watch the most is the blue with the white.
Correct. The prep
That's the
flag.
timing that's saying 4 minutes to my start, 1 minute to the start. Then
Yes.
it's up, then it's down.
And when I redo this slide, I'm going to put just a class flag placeholder in there because that's the real one. Because your 5-minute notice is when the class flag goes up, then the prep's going to come up afterward. 1 minute before prep's going to go down, and then the class flag is going to come down. And if it's a rolling start, the other class flag is going to go up simultaneously. Correct. But that's what the next slide is. It's a picture that kind of depicts that.
And if there's a general recall, you've already got the next class flag up, so chances are the race committee's not gonna start you again, you're kicked back.
That's a good
They've already got the.
That would be in the
next class
SI, that should be in the SI. But if they put the next class flag up,
You gotta follow the flag.
guess who's starting?
up. The
Their
next
class.
Yep.
Good call, you, that was
Yes,
a
yes,
good thing.
yes. So this is just a diagram that shows the sequence. If you don't do this all the time, because we're doing staggered starts, then you can forget about it. But this is something that you need to know really like the back of your hand. And if not, you need to have this picture or something pasted into your cockpit so that you don't forget it. You see the top spot up there is the race committee boats on station, and it has the orange flag up showing where the end of the line is. At 5 minutes before you start, the class flag is going to go up, and that's what this yellow flag is that's right there. That's the class flag for this particular class. So that's the thing you set your watch on, not GPS time, anything like that. It's race committee time that we're working
Well, you really want to start your time here, okay? And the guys I've been racing with over here locally, like when we do these Corinthian starts, I said, look, just tell me when it's 5 minutes, because my whole life has been counting down from 5 minutes. I don't work on whatever. So, the people who've been racing for years, we go by 5 minutes. It's just our world, okay? It just we know how to position our boat, look at the fleet, get our speed, and stop by 5 minutes. So you really want to get it. Hopefully there's going to be a doop, 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 doop. Get it here, check it here.
Right. So that shows the sequence. Here's the minutes before the start column. You've got the class flag that's gone up. That's when you start your watch, your countdown timer. 4 minutes, you see the prep flag going up. That's when you're officially racing. So your engine has to be off. If it's a light day and you went too far from the starting line and you need a motor to get up there, you can go after the class flag is up, but it has to be off when the prep flag goes up.
And that's when the racing rules start. Okay? After 4 minutes is when the racing rules start.
Then the next thing that happens is at 1 minute before you start, the blue and white prep flag comes down. So if your timing's all screwed up, before that, that's the last chance that you know you watch the flag, you don't listen to the sound signal, and then the start flag is when your class flag comes down, and if it's a rolling start, the next flag is going to, class flag is going to go up simultaneously. So helmsmen on boats should be thinking about maneuvering the boat right at these times when this happens. So if you have someone who is assigned to be looking at that stuff, don't tack the boat right when the flag's going to be going up and down, or you may not be able to see it. So just keep that in mind. Dave, I don't know whether you...
This may be a good time to, I may take a little bit, okay? Because this is what I think this whole evening is about. Okay. So, we're doing time starts. And well, roll through this because I don't want to get ahead of where we're at.
Well, the next one I was going to talk about the Rule 30 flags, if you want to talk about that.
We can do this quickly because we want to get to the crux of it.
Yes.
Can I ask one real brief question? You have multiple classes, so if the engine's off is dependent upon your class start or the first class start?
Your 4-minute
Okay.
engine off.
Thank you.
So we're going to go through this stuff quickly. I have never been in a race where these signals have been used. You've probably been in a whole bunch of them. These are special flags for what you can do with going around the end of the starting line. Because, so Dave, you want to do a quick discussion?
We're gonna be quick. It's gonna be over
Yes.
within a minute. If you are, you gotta go around the end. Damn sure it don't be over. Really, have a beer. Okay? Because you ain't racing no more. These are not in our world right now, but they do exist. These are for like Worlds and North American Championships. All GYA. I hope you all want to go race Vipers and race Captiville, because if you do Captiville, then this will be a part of your world, okay? But I don't want to delay tonight on that. If we need to have more meetings for that, I am more than happy to help, okay?
So you should just be aware that this is this. I'm going to email out this PowerPoint thing, PDF to everybody so that you can have a copy if you are listening online or didn't get it here. But this is one of the slides that you should attach to your basic racing rules so that you have that in case it shows up.
And those will be flying when the class flag goes up.
Yes, they'll go up and down because one class may have it in or division and another one may
These
not.
go up at the 4-minute.
Yes, at the 4-minute with the prep flag.
Yeah, because it sounded like they were, if you went over.
They go up at the 4-minute.
They all are.
These are the rules if you go over early or on the wrong side of the line, yeah, when the gun...
So in other words, real quick, if you've been bad boys and you're pushing the line, okay, or girls, if you've been pushing the line and the race committee feels they have a good line, you know, sometimes the race committee doesn't have a good line and the fleet just says no. And they just, you just start and there's, no, the line's not good, and the race committee disagrees with you, then they can start putting these up, okay? But again, I don't think that's where we're at tonight.
No.
I think that we need a lot more good conversation.
Where would that be? That would be in the sailing instructions?
Yeah.
The use of those flags?
No, the flags, you need to read the rules on here. The sailing instructions are going to say we may use these flags.
Gotcha.
And so
We could take a lot more time working on each one of these, but I don't think that's tonight personally.
it's not.
It's not where we want to be tonight.
Albert, do you have an online question?
We have an online question. Race committee is not required to state the course until the sequence starts.
Right.
Some races will use a flag to indicate the course. Also, this flag may not be posted until the sequence.
Correct. So, again, let's just say New Orleans Yacht Club or Southern. They have these boards on the back of their boats, and normally they give you the courses because they have all these buoys and stuff. Over here, if we're going to do a staggered start, Gerald will go by radio and tell you what the course is, and that's how we do it, all right? On bigger regattas, they may have course 1 or 2, which may be a windward leeward twice around or windward leeward and a half, and you finish the windward, which is Challenge Cup, because I went to war on that a long time ago. So they'll have a flag. Again, it will be a flag. It's in the SIs. And that's why I keep going back. As you move up the ladder of racing, you will learn that the SIs, and those are regatta A, and the SIs become more and more critical. Because they have to state that. It's just, that's what they have to do.
All right.
So the bottom line is, you go to West Marine, buy the little card that has all the flags on it and tells you what the hell they do.
And post it on your boat.
Post it on your boat.
Post it on your boat.
Exactly.
Absolutely, without fail.
All right, so moving on from the flags, if you have any questions, ask us after that. These are things that I wrote down that I think that you should do before you go out to the boat. Maybe the day before, the morning of. It depends on how serious the race is and how many things. Review the latest forecast. Figure out what the wind might or might not be doing. Look for, do you expect there to be a major shift that's going to maybe favor one side of the course over the other? Determine any predicted currents. We don't have that problem on Lake Pontchartrain, but on Chesapeake Bay, knowing what the currents is doing is a big deal. Up in the New England coast, it's an even bigger deal sometimes. Because you don't want to be set by the current into the starting mark because you forgot that there was going to be a half a knot of current. Gather the things that you need to bring to the boat so that you don't get on the boat.
Real quick on this. Okay, so this, again, I want to go back to the owner. A lot of y'all, the owner takes care of most everything. And my thing tonight is I want to get rid of that a little bit. I hope that the owners and tacticians or strategists or whatever you want to call them, you would, before we're just even doing a race here, for a day or two, or chit-chatting, talking, just, hey man, what's up? Now when we were like doing the SORC, for 2 weeks, we have models. More models than you can model. But we're doing the trends. The bigger the race, the more you do it. So you don't get down here at the yacht club and knee-jerk what you think might happen. You've looked, we're going to race on Saturday at noon or 2. You start looking at it, for our little races, Thursday afternoon, kind of paying attention, looking at it, seeing what you got. Don't have to go crazy. That way when you get down to the boat, I know that he does, I know most of y'all do, I know I do, you have an idea, okay? And that's part of the early strategy, tactics, performance. And this is part of the strategy. So, go ahead.
All right. This is a list that I made of things to put on the boat. I got some funny comments about this, but you should, if you don't have these on the boat ready to use, you could have a problem. The NOR and the SIs, the charts are course diagrams for LPRC. A lot of people get confused about how the course is set up for the racer cruisers and non-spinnakers, so there's now a good diagram in the thing to explain that. Handheld VHF radio, your racing rules, your protest flag. You can't just take a red t-shirt and float it around.
Do you want to jump on protest real quick, or you got that later?
No, this is pretty much the only one.
Real quick, if you want to protest, and we want to have a protest session here, and I hope that Bill protests me, because we had an issue, and I want to get someone, Bill and I had an issue at the start, and I'm going to hopefully get him to get a good rules person to write a protest against me, because this would be cool, right? Yeah. So we had, it was cool. It was a great day. I'm not going to talk about it. I shouldn't. But you got to have a protest flag. So if you get in a protest, cell number 25, I'm protesting you.
Calling it loudly where everybody can.
Just like you heard me the other day. When I got in that situation the other day, everybody heard me. There was no doubt that boat heard me, the race committee heard me, the boat on my hip right here, and then when I got clear ahead, I'm clear ahead. There was no doubt. Or he could have argued, but he didn't. Okay? And so we go up, we do our thing, and we get our start, right? You do that for several reasons. So you don't hit big boats, okay? Because we don't want to hit big boats. They need to understand what you are going to do unless they come back at you, and then you have to make a decision, right? And then, at the end of the day, if there is a protest, you want to go find all your witnesses, of which you'd have been one. See? Well, I saw you, and I heard you, and I looked over there, and I saw this or that, okay? So if you go into a protest, you have witnesses. Some witnesses you want to use, some witnesses you don't. You don't want to use them a lot of times. Anyway, so just, you got to have a red flag about yay big. Okay? I prefer the starboard shroud myself personally, or it could be the backstay. But you can't, if in real racing, and I'm not saying we're not doing real racing, but like hardcore stuff, if you don't fly that flag, quick. Doesn't matter. Because the first thing you do when you get to the protest room, they're going to say, I don't know the order exactly. Did you hail? Yes, I hailed their cell number. Did you hail protest? Yes, I did. Did you fly your flag? When? Immediately. And then you go out, and you come back in. We have a valid protest. And that's when you get the protest.
Another thing that's really important about putting the flag up, hailing right away, is if the other person realizes, yes, I screwed up, that gives them the opportunity then to do an exoneration for whatever is called for. But if you don't do that and come back later, the person said, well, if I had realized I had done something wrong, I would have, my boat's so much faster than his and I sail so much better, I could have done 8 360s indeed.
Right. Go ahead. While we hit protest flag.
Al?
So Skipper kind of answered my question. So that exoneration, that's going to be found where? In the SIs, in OR, not the OR. Where are you going to find that?
The racing rules.
In the racing rules. Okay.
Yeah.
Unless there's something in the SIs that modify it.
Correct.
So what's the difference? You have the NORs, the SI, and then the racing rules. What trumps what?
The notice of race is a thing that says we're going to have a race, and it says basic parameters. The sailing instructions are the details about how that race is going to be done. And it will say that the racing rules of sailing, U.S. prescriptions, which is the ones that we sail on, will be followed, and then if there are exceptions, they have to be in the sailing instructions. And there could be exceptions about what those Rule 30 special things at the starting line. There may be exceptions about that. There may be some other things. Who knows what? But if there's not an express exception to the rule stated in the SIs, you follow the basic rules.
Okay, basically, everybody looks at this book and they think, oh my goodness, right? Honestly, for our world, the whopping 13 first pages are us. Basically, you got the contents, online rules documents, introduction, definitions, which are very important if you actually want to do. Okay, that's actually page 3. We're getting way into it, right? Still on definitions, 4, 5, basic principles, and then we have fundamental rules, part 1, page 7. And then conduct of race starts at page 17. That's about race committee. So that little itty bitty part is our world. Unless you're running a race. Go ahead.
So I've got a question on, or a statement. The time limit for filing a protest will be stated in the SIs.
Correct.
A protest cannot be filed after the time limit has passed.
Correct. Well, again, and I appreciate that, I didn't want to stay we're not going to get to anywhere where we want to go, but I'm cool.
You said
Yeah.
that'd be great.
I'm cool, right?
Let me clarify the point on this. What that person is talking about is filing the protest with the race committee at the end of the race. You still have to immediately hail the other boat, put the protest flag up, and shout its sale number to just to be able to start and go on to the other part.
Okay, let's go back real quick. Let's go back to that question. Where at Pontchartrain Yacht Club would we find that our race committee docked? I said it earlier. It's not a trick question. At Pontchartrain Yacht Club, on that hallway is where we put all of our race committee stuff. Remember I said. So, when the race committee docks, they fire a gun or a horn or whatever, and they'll come in, let's say it's 14:12 and the date. From that time, you have 1 hour to file your protest. Again, at Southern Yacht Club, it's underneath. At New Orleans Yacht Club, it's on the wall between the bar. Every yacht club has a different place. So that's a great question.
Okay, changing the topic. We have a question for Dave. In staggered downwind starts, would you consider not putting up your head sail and just put up your spinnaker on the starting line?
Never, ever, 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 ever. We were doing this. We were doing this on the J145 and the SORC coming out of St. Pete, and they had this idea, and I went ballistic. Reason being, can I use that board? Yeah. All right, now we're getting some fun. Jeez. All right. Normally the winds from here from down here. We have a start.
Can you use another marker that's a little bit darker for everybody?
It's they can't see in the back of the room with the red marker.
Oh, sorry. This is a great question.
Of course. That's why Chad asked it.
Hey, Chad.
So, we're coming in downwind, and we're going, and I come in with, let's say I want to be the green boat. I want to be the fast boat. I'm the red boat. I'm coming in, let's say a minute. And I'm the green boat, and I have a Genoa up. Al can attest. This is slowing your boat down is just as important as speeding your boat up before the start. So, red's coming in. They don't have a head sail. They're just coming along, right? I got too much speed. I dial off. I come up, and I'm rolling. I'm coming into the start. We start even. They have no apparent wind. Or let's say they have 5 knots of apparent wind. I have a jib up, and I've got 9 apparent. My chute goes up at the same time. Who's going to go faster? The boat with a 9 apparent or 5 apparent? This boat's got to build speed. This boat already has the wind. This boat has the wind back here, where I'm going almost twice as fast with my Genoa. My apparent wind is like this. I win. We did it at St. Pete against all these mega rock stars. I mean, they get $1,500 a day to sail, and I'm like, really? I don't get jack. This is a true thing within 6 months of now of history.
My 2 cents. I've also started a lot of times without the Genoa, Because the foredeck guy, by the time he's set to shoot and done all the stuff he needs to do, hey, have mercy.
I know.
All right? Foredeck guy's done all the stuff. I just start with the staysail up. The staysail, as long as it doesn't overlap past the LP of the Genoa, is legal. I mean, you can sail that basically comes back 135% and give you a lot of power.
Sure.
But then you got room on the bow of the boat. You built your apparent wind. So when you go to set to shoot, you're not worried about the Genoa blanketing the chute from rising and lifting and sucking.
And getting it rolled up or taken down.
Right.
And the whole key to this is one boat can't move. They're just doing this. One boat can do this. Okay? They can come. You can, if you're on a reach, you can always slow the boat down. Okay? You can sharp turn. You can dive. You know, you can do whatever. You can speed up. So, yeah, it's, and I wanted to get to tonight, which I don't know if we will, just regular starts about the same thing, but I'm happy to just keep rolling. This is wonderful.
All right, so other stuff that's on here, I have refreshments for the crew. It's important that everyone have something to eat and drink. A stopwatch with a countdown timer.
Again, I would recommend everyone, if we want to start doing real starts, you're gonna, once you start doing real starts that are counting down 5 and down, you're gonna want someone like, we gotta start at 12:05, let's just say. At 12 o'clock, 1 or 2 people, tactician, you know, 3, 2, 1, 12 o'clock, boom, I'm 5 minutes out. So then, you know, you've got what you're moving and grooving on your 5-minute countdown, okay?
You can get a stopwatch for $15 at a sporting goods store. You've got them on your watches. You can use your phone unless you do something to your phone and it messes up the starting sequence. But that is such an important time. If you don't know what time it is, you can't make sure you're at the line when you want to be. You should, if you don't remember all these things that we've been talking about, bring something in the cockpit of the boat, like Rick was talking about going to West Marine and getting a picture of all the starting signals and stuff. Have that available. You can't say, hey, Joe, go down below and look on the forward port berth. I think that's where I left all this stuff.
Everybody should have that.
Yeah.
Every single boat. It's just right there, right next to the cockpit. It's just your little circle, square thing. Just got your flags. It's real simple. And you just do this and you're good.
And the last thing down there is I have a slow, heavy boat that takes a lot of time to build up speed to go for the start. I've made up a little table based on one someone showed me for how long, what time I have to turn around to go back to the starting line if I do a Vanderbilt type start, which we'll talk about, because in the heat of the moment I can't do the simple math to figure out. So I've got a table for 40-second tack time and a table for 20-second tack time. So I go out, I tack, and I come back. Dave's going to talk about other, he doesn't like that kind, but
that's okay. It's wonderful.
It works.
This is why we're here.
I was turned on to this the other day by Court. It's called Race Master, and it's a great app to help you start your races with. I didn't know about this before until I learned about it, so I'm telling you guys now. So anyway, Race Master app.
all right. The crew organization is the next one. So these are things to do when you get to the boat. Everything else was stuff to think about before you get to the boat, but when you get to the boat, you've brought your radio with you, you have it in the boat, turn it on to the channel that the sailing instructions say the race committee is going to be using. If you're doing a downwind start, or any kind of start, make sure you've got all of your gear rigged, your spinnaker's been repacked, everything's ready to go so that you're not fumbling around doing that. Rig the sheets and the mainsail reef lines for whatever wind conditions you expect. On sailing boats, not class boats like J30s, but bigger boats, I always had the first reef line rigged. I had the second and third reef lines ready to go with little messenger lines so I could rig them while I was sailing. But if you go out there and you have the full moon regatta where it goes from 5 knots of wind to 25 knots and you don't have any reef lines rigged, then you could be in a world of trouble.
This is why he's such a smart man. Having your second and third, unless you're going offshore, then you have your first and second, and then you have your little Taylor line, like he's talking about, to go into your third reef, because you're going to take your first reef and you're going to use that to do your third reef. That's why he's smart. Perfect scenario right there.
But all that stuff, anything that I'm smart about is something I learned from someone like Dave's doing tonight that told me from years of experience how to do it.
And in New Orleans, when you walk in the docks before a race, there are people that are nice enough to leave all kind of snatch blocks on their decks and stuff, so you can get all kinds of credit. Only in New Orleans, it never happens in Mandeville.
I'm going to look on the biggest boat.
And then the final thing here,
Well,
to
hold on,
have,
let's stay real quick. Safety equipment. Let's talk about equipment a little bit for our world. So when we get out there, or we're getting ready to go out, you know, well, no, let's keep going because we're going to get into crew and all that.
Yeah.
On the so let's move forward.
so the last thing is real important. You have to have all the safety equipment required by the NOR and SIs available. For some races, you have to have every crew member in a PFD on deck at the start, well, when you check in with the race committee and when you start the race. If you don't have that because you didn't read the SIs or you didn't get the stuff ready, you're going to be disqualified. So this is a very simple thing to do for a very important reason.
And offshore, normally the big boats, if you're going to go more than Pensacola, even Pensacola race. My wife was on a boat that sunk during the Gulfport Pensacola race. So don't think it's just that simple, okay? Sunk a J105.
Wow.
True. You should have a pad in the boat, an area laminated, where every single through hull is. If you're going to go offshore, all your cruisers, every single through hull should be listed, and every single through hull should have the appropriate dowel taped next to it as minimum. Where your safety gear is, where, I mean, I'm not going to, just all that stuff should be laminated. So if something happens and the skipper gets hit in the head by a boom, and I think the head's doing, you can look at the thing, go down there, rip up, and fix it.
A couple of years ago, the owner of a boat in the Newport to Bermuda run got ejected from the boat in stormy weather. He was coming out the companionway, and the boat moved, and he just went straight over the side and drowned. They got him, they recovered him, but they couldn't get him on board the boat in time to save him. So if you think it can't happen, it certainly can. And while the Pensacola race is not an offshore multi-day thing, the kind of thunderstorms that we can get around here can produce hurricane force winds for a short amount of time, much more than we saw in the full moon race, that can put you in a life or death situation. So you just have to have all the stuff ready.
True story. On the same 105, before that, we're doing 16 knots. I'm driving. I don't ever drive till it gets crazy. Everybody's harnessed in. I'm driving. I got no harness. I got no nothing. They tied, literally, scooched back, took about a 15-foot piece of line and tied it around my body and tied it to the stern rail.
Yep.
Okay? So, we were fine, but we're going along, and it's wicked dark. We're flying and whatever, and got the kite up, and I'm like, I'm not harnessed in. So, you know, don't do that. Don't do that. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Well, now we're going to talk about crew organization. And to be able to compete in the upper level races, your crew needs to be organized so that they can help you sail the boat fast. You need to assign sail trim, sail handling positions before you leave the dock so that you've got that taken care of. You should, if you have enough people, assign a crew member whose responsibility is to watch the race committee boat for all the different signals that are there. That person also, it may be a good idea to have a phone and take a picture of when the race committee boat posts what the race course is going to be, to take a picture of that so that you have it forever and not get confused. Assign a crew member to use the stopwatch, the countdown timer, and call out times. That could be the same person who's watching the race committee boat. Assign a lookout or bow person depending upon the conditions. In a smaller boat, if there's not a lot of crowd, you may not need to have someone up on the bow. But if you have a big boat and you've got a lot of stuff, the person in the bow is in a position to be able to see the relative positions between the other boats, can see the race committee boat, can give you an idea of how far it is to the line, especially if you've figured out angles and things beforehand. But Dave, I guess you were talking earlier this afternoon about having people in the bow.
Yes, this is, we don't have a lot of time, but this is really why I wanted to be here. Okay, so my wife, Julie, doesn't normally talk to me about this kind of stuff, but what they do on the J109, I don't know if you know, it's one of the best boats on the lake. Okay, to beat the 109, you've done something. And they have a pretty set crew, and they have a rhythm. And we do this on the J145 and many, many other programs that you may or may not know about. When the J109, you don't always have the same crew. Somebody has a sick kid or whatever. When they leave the dock, now they talk about the weather, they talk about the conditions, they talk about all that. When they leave the dock lines go off, the bumpers come in, and either Mark Palermo or Dr. Bobby, crew meeting. Yep. You can be putting sunscreen on, you can be getting the water. It's crew meeting. Just as if we were going offshore. And this is for a little BS race. All right? Who's on the boat? Who's in charge of driving, main sheet, 2 jibs, pit, a minimum of 1 on mast, and a bowman. Okay? It may be different people, but they know what's going on. All right? On the 145, where we're doing that, you know, everybody, you got to have that. When I sailed with Steve Montenay, we had a beautiful prayer every time. I love those prayers. I miss them. But everybody in the cockpit, I don't care if we're sailing in the Sound in Mississippi, crew meeting. That's what you did. That way, things change, don't get me wrong. But people were expected to be in their area, and it makes it a lot better. So let's move to a race out here. This is what I really want. Go ahead.
Before you transition, the other thing is on straitjacket, which is a great example. There is a meeting very early in the day. What's the one word in your brain today? What are you thinking about? What are you focused on today? And we go around on straitjacket. We go around to each crew member. Everybody puts up a word. What are you focused on today? With the whole thing being, keep your head in the boat. Don't look at the pelicans. Don't be thinking about what you're going to be drinking after the race. Head in the boat. When we're racing, be focused. And Palermo does a great job of getting everybody,
dialed in.
Pardon me?
Dialed in.
Dialed in. and what are you going to work on today? And they're going to ask you about that later on when the race is over. You know, a mistake when you're really competing is definitely in terms of your performance. So head in the boat, time to get focused, and time to move forward. And he does a fantastic job.
Yep. Excuse me. So let's move to what I would consider a pretty normalish boat we're doing here. And we're moving up, right? Sometimes the skipper is in charge of a lot. Driving, tactics, strategy. It may have pretty new crew, which we love. Don't get me wrong. We love. All right? And that's one way, that's the way that has to be done, right? But when you were doing these starts, back and forth, getting ready for our time starts, right? The thing that I see that bothered me the most, it wasn't they didn't have, on the bigger boats, I'm saying over 33 feet. Most people had someone on the bow. Everybody was just doing like 6.5, 7, 8 knots back and forth. Why they're doing that, I have no clue. We're not starting for 15 minutes, and everybody's just raging around. Oh, calm down. Chill out. Go out. Go up, instead of going back and forth, if you got 15 minutes, go up and win. Get your numbers on starboard. Sail away from the fleet a little. Get your numbers on starboard. Get your numbers on port. Write them down. And also, what I like to do is I like to try to use visuals, like we have the causeway, if you have a southwest breeze, and that way you can use that. And then the city on starboard, if you have a southwest breeze. And then southeast you can use on starboard, you can use the land, Green Point, the city on port. It just gives you a nice visual, okay? Do that, you know? But I think the biggest thing I see that this fleet needs to do before the start is learn how to slow down. And then learn how to accelerate. I'll go back to the kids. The first thing the kids learn how to do is stop a boat. That way when they come into the dock, they don't destroy our Optimist. And it's not long until I'm standing on the front of the boat and they will sail up and I put my fingers out and they touch me and they back up. If you can back a boat up, if you can stop a sailboat when you want to, if you can back a boat up, you're ready. Okay? Because the main thing is we're not going to just, we saw Vanderbilt, not to everybody doing these Vanderbilt starts. We're not learning anything. And we're not going to get to the starting stuff tonight, which I'm super happy because we talked about a lot of other things. There's all these angles and twists and turns of how to hammer your competition, okay? And they don't even, well, sometimes they know you're doing it and sometimes they don't. But that's the whole idea, okay? That's where we want to be. Like at our pre-starts the other day, I said we're going to win the pin. And we won the pin. Because I wanted to show the crew I was with how to do one start coming in from port, setting up on the fleet, looking at the fleet, setting up, diving down, then getting your speed and going. The second start, I said we're going to win the committee boat, which we did, okay? Because, you know, I'm much more accustomed to doing this, right? But it was nice because there were boats up there, but the most important thing about what we did in those starts is we learned to slow the boat down and then accelerate the boat when we needed to, okay? So that's starts That's at the basics of the starts. That's the crux. Not just ripping around, setting yourself up, knowing where your competition is. If I'm in a Catalina 30, do I want to start right to leeward of Gerald? No. No one wants to start to leeward of Gerald. You know, he's the big elephant out there. He gets to start where he wants. And guess what? You got to move around him. And you got to use him as a pick. Okay? And that's when we start learning how to do this. So that was my main crux for tonight. I wanted to get there, and I just thought it was really important. So if you want to keep going on.
Let me see what's next.
Still got 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So things that were coming up is like checking the wind, adjusting the sails and stuff like that. You want to leave that for our next
Yeah,
one?
we can go over the
right.
basics for sure.
Yes.
Okay, so checking the wind. Again, we've checked in with our race committee, correct?
Yes.
The flag's up. We've come on starboard. You can use your radio, but make sure they call you back. It's always nice to know if they're going to answer you, but, you know. You come in, check. You want to be there, again, if the warning gun's at 11:55, you're going to start at noon, you want to be there no later at 11:30. I mean, ready to go. Not getting out there just throwing mains up and stuff. I mean, you're at the starting area, getting your Genoa up, checking your stuff. Because you can do all this, and then if you're early, you can drop your Genoa and then wait your turn if you're like the third start or whatever. It's all good. One of the things that I've learned from some good people, not me, I'm going to give you a couple secrets. And I use the names of who I learned it from. I learned this from John Dane in One Design Sailing, because we don't move marks around a lot. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a One Design thing, but okay. Which side is favored? Put your arms up. Which side? Okay, right. So this is favored at the start. And I'm not going to belay it. If we're coming downwind, if we're doing a windward leeward, which side is favored?
Still.
Don't say sure.
No, say still.
Yeah, still. Yeah, I mean, people, it's amazing that they finish over here and they haven't moved it. It's odd.
And by heading up, you may have more apparent wind, you're building up more boat speed, you know, but you're sailing a longer distance.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, you got to go to the wind, but why go to the longer course, right? Let's go over our little thing we talked about.
Oh, like, if I may?
Yeah.
Talking about the line? Yeah. Most of the time, and this is what I've learned over years, the committee boat is going to set the line slightly staggered so that the mark is favored. Because they don't want 45 boats smashed into the back of the committee boat, because it's favored. They want you over there by that mark. Okay? So chances are, if they set up a good line, you're probably going to wind up over at the mark as the closest pin to the next mark, to the windward mark. So just be aware of that.
Yep.
I'm not going to use this as a start. Here's a finish M1. We did this a couple weeks ago. All right? And this was J, I believe we rounded. Okay? We're broad reaching, we're out, we're barber hauled.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So we're not the first boat. All right? We're, I don't know, 4 or 5 boats back, whatever. And we're just a staggered start, so we need to catch them, right? So all these boats, so they end up here. This is why you talk to the crew. And this is why the crew should be looking at the wind all the time. Because we were discussing it on the boat that the boats behind us were bringing pressure. All right? And that's west. They were bringing pressure from the west. So I said, we're going to round this mark and we're going to tack around this mark for 2 reasons. We're going to come around. And before they can tack, I'll move, don't worry. Our nose is out in front of them. We are on the long board towards the mark because it's not dead upwind. We saw pressure. We were happy with that. But going on the long board gives you way more options. When you get on the long board first, once we get down this scenario, all we need is 1 knock. 1 knock. Or pressure without a knock. All right? And we did this. And I told them, don't let me surprise you when I say tacking in 5 seconds. Because if we get a knock or we get pressure that's not a knock, we're going to tack the boat, we're going to win the race. Sure enough, we got a little bit of both. We went down a little bit and we got pressure. And then it didn't take 4 minutes that we were crossing the fleet.
Oh, wait a minute.
Except for you.
Yeah, thank you.
But you see what our thought process was. Now, if we'd have seen big pressure inshore, we wouldn't have done this. But we had our head out of the boat. We were looking at the pressure, watching other boats on the race course, and we made a decision, okay? So I thought that was a pretty nice little maneuver. And heck, we only beat Rick by, 5 boat lengths. It was still close, and we had to catch him. But
I actually got that.
So
We're tack in front of David Boyard, man. You have any idea how exciting that was?
Gerald's not here, but I got to give it to Gerald the other day. He crossed us on Port Tack by from here to that camera right there. Tack right across us, just as sweet as.
That's good.
You had to say, hey, there you go, nice tack.
Thank you.
You know, so any questions?
Let me ask this. As you're going down the coast, on one of those longboard tacks, I was concerned about trash off the trees onshore coming out towards us, because the wind was sort of out of the northwest, if memory serves me correct. So what do you do in that regard, Dave? I mean, the further offshore you are, the more the air's going to be clear. I screwed up, not thinking, and I split the difference because Skipper was right in front of me. So I tacked over because I don't want to be in Skipper's bad air when he comes over. So I'm clearing my air. I watched you all come around the mark and I held it. And I'm like, okay, man, let me tell you what, that freaking 150, he can point that goddamn boat. I mean, you all were pointing, and I'm doing 6.2s and 6.3s, and Al's sailing up to my boat.
Yeah, we're doing like 5.6, maybe 5.7 but we're pointing higher for sure.
Like
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know.
My point is, again, the trees. Should I more worry about pressure up in front of me to the west, and just screw the trees. If I get a knock, I get a knock. If I don't, I don't, and do what you gotta do.
On that day, the forecast was for the pressure to come from the west.
Yeah.
So that's what I went with. You know, on many days we call it the M1 beat, which we all hate because it gets so fluky, okay? That, you know, I don't want to say you want to toss a coin, but it's really a trend to the left and then get your nose in there and hopefully that breeze comes over the beach. Because y'all do know that wind wants to go perpendicular to the beach, right? All wind does not want to fight land. So, and this is for another thing, a little segment of another thing. We have what we call the green point lift. Like we were talking about, the guy across the lake knew exactly where the wind was going to come from. It's just coming down the funnel there at the bayou. So that's knowing where you're sailing, right? But most of the time, and I will normally go to the beach. If I don't know exactly what I'm doing, and I've got to figure out one way or the other, I'm going to go try. If I can get to a beach, I'm going to go to a beach. But we just saw that the pressure was coming from the west, forecast was west, and that was the long board. My main thing was getting on the long board, and that gives you options. Okay?
So I have a question. The Pensacola race, you have two choices. You go offshore or to the beach. And last year we did the offshore and just died.
But there's not two options. You can tack. You got to wait. You got to be patient. And that's what we did. We waited for our opportunity, and then we took it. And then we got up to the fleet, except for Rick, and then we consolidated, and we got a little bump, a little light, and we went back. You know, you don't have to hit.
So in discussion, so at that point, should I have tacked to cover you?
Yes.
Even though Al's going to outpoint me and go in front of me anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to want to put a safe fluid. He's going to want to put a safe fluid situation. He's going to suck me down. So then I'm going to have to tack off. But I should have at least covered him.
Yeah, but the way you cover us is you step up to windward. We do this, you're going to go fast forward over us and hurt us. And you can keep us back.
I wouldn't do that to Al.
It's a race.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
That is race.
Yeah, he's, of course, joking.
Yeah, I know. But
All right, so we're about halfway through this, and so this is probably a good time to stop and Albert.
Yeah, Chad's got a question that's
Okay.
worth bringing up at this point. Explain why you want to go toward the direction of the wind in the direction the wind is supposed to shift.
okay, that's an easy one.
That's why we're asking.
I know. So let's just use this scenario. This is perfect, right? Let's use the same boats. We have here, the wind's here. If the wind comes more like this way, instead of that way, try to get out of the way.
Thank you.
We're going to get knocked, and when we tack, we're going to go 90 degrees, we're going to be lifted on the other tack. A lot of really good sailors, in all my life, people who sail for lifts sail a defensive game. People who sail for knocks sail an offensive game. And that's opposite downwind. You want to sail downwind to the lift, and then you want to jibe on the knock. Ben Fazet was as we all know, he's phenomenal, right? And he was always great at thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead. okay? So that's basically what you do. If you're going upwind, you want to be ahead and to leeward, you get the knock, you tack and cross, you turn your brain off, sail your boat. That's been my rule.
Yeah, a lot of the people who write about this kind of stuff say sail to the new wind, and that's what if you expect the wind, and that's why it's good to have an idea beforehand about what side of the course you think the wind may be shifting on, and go in the direction so that you get knocked, so that then you get tacked and you're lifted way above everybody. So this is a basic principle. It's not that easy to go do it when you're out there because you don't always know what's going to happen, but that's what you should do.
Right. That's the whole thing. You want to set yourself to attack your competition, and that's what we did, and it worked out. But we had good reason to think it might work out, so that's what you do.
One final comment,
Okay.
the message board. If Dave and Skipper are available, we could continue part 2 of this session at the general membership meeting on March 28th at New Orleans Yacht Club. So it's an invite for y'all to consider.
I mean, I plan on being there, but do they really want to do this at a general meeting?
It would be something for y'all to discuss, not right now, but
No, okay.
just let you know there's an invite.
Yes. Yeah, the general meeting for Corinthians is basically a short board meeting. and
Oh,
then
this
not
is not for New Orleans, this is for
No, for
Corinthians.
Corinthians.
Oh, we can do it at Corinthians all day long.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was New Orleans, it's Corinthians.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have our general meeting
Yeah,
over on the
if
south
I'm
shore.
Stand it that way either.
If I'm available, absolutely, be love to be there.
All right.
And be happy to do it, for sure.
All right. Well, that brings us to a conclusion for this evening. I thank all of you who've come here in person, and all the people online too, but I really am glad that we got you engaged and got lots of questions, because this is what Dave wanted to do, and I think that this is the way to go about something like that, is you ask the questions, and he can come in and give a good answer for it. So that we're just talking, and we don't waste time on stuff that you already know. We focus on the stuff that you don't know. So we will we'll let you know what the details are for part 2. I'll send this PowerPoint out. It could change some from stuff that we've decided after this one. But thank everybody online, and I thank everybody who's here in person, and thank you, Dave.
Thank you. He's the man. He's the man right there.